And then I will put out the tweet.
Yeah. I didn't get the Twitch notification tonight. It's weird.
Ah, that's weird.
Yeah.
Twitch is too busy celebrating at Mixer's demise.
Yeah, that was kind of. I read that like I saw something. Obviously, we'll talk about it
Yeah.
more. And I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
And then I went back like a couple hours later. I'm like, "Oh." It's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I saw somebody quote tweeted. I'm like, I thought he was just making a joke or something like that. And then I just saw that I went back and looked at the tweet again that somebody quote tweeted, and I clicked on it. And I'm like, "Whoa."
Yeah. And some of the numbers got out there too. So it's like, oof.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm not using it the same way, Ange, but we're gonna start in a second. So. Let me know when you're good.
Yeah, you can start
All right.
just tweeting and Facebooking.
DDG episode 35. My name is Dave Hunt, and I'm joined by Michael Swick.
How is it going? I'm recording with you way more now these days.
Yeah,
So
lots
I'm
and
probably
lots
gonna
of
record another one this week potentially because it's the end of the month.
yeah, lots and lots and lots of content for you guys that we've been producing. I think after this episode, like in a 9-day period or something like that, it'll be like almost like 9 hours, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, and it's not even E3, but it
Yeah,
kind of is.
non E3. I liked your little post about that.
Yeah.
All right, so we are Digital Days Gaming. We produced a weekly podcast along with a few bonus episodes lately surrounding all the aspects of the gaming world. PC, Switch, Xbox, PlayStation, all of the above, mobile if it ever becomes necessary and relevant. um,
Nope.
and we record live on Twitch, twitch.tv/Digital Days Gaming, where you can watch the show. You can subscribe to us if you have Amazon Prime for free, or you can do a paid sub if you so choose to support us that way. You can follow us on Twitter at Digital Days Pod. You can also join our Facebook group. All of our social links will be in the show notes below. Or if you click the next screen on your phone. Uh, so if you could leave us a review wherever possible. A lot of you guys have been doing that lately over the last couple of weeks, and we really appreciate that. It helps us move up the charts. We spiked pretty high at the charts actually last week at one point in time. So that's a huge kudos to you guys for downloading the show and for leaving reviews. It's a huge, huge help to hopefully get more and more eyes on the show, which maybe we have and maybe we don't. So
Who knows?
yeah, but again, just retweeting, sharing on Facebook, posting the review with stars and something written helps tremendously. Even if it's just I like it, like that's better. You don't have to write a paragraph. Nobody's gonna like book report proofread you or anything. um, but we definitely have some stuff to go over. There's some news and a couple of things actually happened today, which is good. I mean, I think Mondays are working out better for recording.
They seem to be. They kind of bail us out when we're recording on Sunday and we're like, oh no, there's nothing new that happened.
Yeah. So, all right. So we're gonna talk a lot about Facebook today. So, ironically enough.
Yeah.
So why don't you go ahead and kick us off? Because this just happened.
This just happened a couple hours ago, or at least it was like formally announced, which is comes as a surprise for me. But Facebook has purchased Ready at Dawn. This is the developer of The Order 1886, God of War: Chain of Olympus, and a couple other like Vita games. And they've been working on the last couple years a VR franchise called Lone Echo. So Facebook bought them to be part of their Oculus team because Oculus is still important for Facebook. Despite I feel like Oculus stuff has been kind of not trending, but this is Facebook's way of buying a pretty competent studio and making them make Oculus a place to play exclusive games. So there's no money that was talked about for this, at least yet. Facebook is a public traded company, so they will get the numbers eventually, just not right away. They currently have two studios. It's in Irvine, California, and Portland, Oregon. Those two studios will still stay the same, and as far as I know, they are going to be completely independent. There was a quote floating around that says they will remain an independently operated developer under the Oculus Studios team and create immersive, innovative VR content. So this just comes out of nowhere, and I feel like me and Dave over the last like couple months were just like, "Oh, Brady and Dawn's probably working on a PS5 game," just because we just
Which they could have been,
they could have been,
or
yes.
this whatever this VR game that they're working on. Obviously, they took it to publishers or took it, to, like trying to if it was going to run on PlayStation, if it was going to run on Oculus, obviously, and the Facebook Oculus team liked it enough that they're like, hey, you know what? Like we want this to be, ours, and the way you make it yours is to buy it and to buy the studio. There'd been rumors or speculation amongst tons of gaming news over the last couple of years of when they were listing when Microsoft was buying all the studios, of like what studios should Sony buy, and Ready at Dawn was always on that list. It was always in like a top 5, top 7, top 10, whatever list, just because of the tech that they've been able to use. Like whether you like the game or didn't like the game, the Order 1886 was a beautiful looking game.
Yeah, and they've done decent work on the Vita, so it was just always assumed they were just one of those studios that you almost disassociated. Like Sony already owns them, just like how people assume Quantic Dream was already owned by Sony or Insomniac was already owned by Sony. But no, they're independent studio. But now they are working for Facebook.
And I bet you like Facebook moved a lot of their efforts over to this because it was rumored that they were going to buy Insomniac because of the VR tech as well. So
yeah, like, they were definitely. Insomniac was definitely being shopped around.
Yeah, the sharks were circling around Insomniac's boat. It's just Sony Shark won.
Yeah.
It sucks. I mean, I think it sucks because I would really like to see what Ready at Dawn puts out, and I don't have the ability to run an Oculus. But I mean, I'm happy that a studio is going to, an independent studio is now owned by a corporation that will keep them afloat, hopefully.
Yeah, of all the companies, this is like kind of a bummer because Facebook isn't the best company, but it's definitely a company everyone uses, so there's some advantage for them as a studio, like financially. So you kind of hate to see it's like when Amazon was buying studios, and Amazon hasn't really put out anything for their stuff. So you kind of get scared when like a big company like this buys a studio, especially if it's going to possibly just be for proprietary hardware that's expensive. There's a lot of like things to worry about in this scenario because usually when a big company like this buys a studio, either nothing comes out of it or they fold the studio right away. So hopefully that does not happen. But Facebook has a lot invested in Oculus, so they'll probably be safe. We'll probably see a game or two out of this, and hopefully it's successful for them.
Do you think that obviously, I mean, like Facebook owns them now, we know that, but is it going to be Oculus exclusive, or do you think that they would try to capitalize on third-party sales?
So there's been a little bit of a step back between exclusivities on Oculus and the Vive. So
I'm even talking about PSVR too.
Oh, I don't even include PSVR just because the tech is so limited compared to the other two.
Okay.
But maybe some stuff will come from that. Especially, this goes back to my paranoia stuff. If they can force you to make a Facebook account to play their game on the PS4, that would definitely be interesting for Facebook, who wants all data. But everyone's already on Facebook. I don't like Facebook, but I have a Facebook account. So they may want to just use this to get on as many platforms as possible. Because there's probably some people that aren't on Facebook who really love video games and really love VR, and the VR market's hungry for content, so they'll probably pick it up despite the fact that Facebook owns it. So this could be a good foot in the door for Facebook to expand their world domination.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean nothing. I mean, like I said, nothing crazy. I mean, just moving a heavy console studio moving to the PC. That's the biggest news, I guess.
Yeah. But yeah, well, I guess we'll find out numbers. And I know me and you, Dave, are fascinated by.
Do you want to guess? You want to guess?
Cost. Less than Insomniac, maybe less than Conan Exiles. Conan Exiles was the one that we were.
Like, so what do you think? Over under 175 mil.
A little under.
A little under. I'm gonna go over.
A little.
It's between 175 and 200.
It's been a while since then, but I don't know how well the Lone Echo
Yeah.
series has been doing for them. So if I knew a little bit more than it, maybe I would go over, but
I,
I would probably say
I'd be
it's
curious
going to be
though,
under
like that
150.
maybe they figured out something, like not like earth shattering, but maybe Ready at Dawn figured out something cool on VR and Oculus to make it run a little bit better to warrant this purchase. You know.
That's what typically happens. Just like when Valve for a while was buying studios, and then those studios would stop making games because Valve would then just dissect the team and insert them in different parts of Valve to help their company going along. So I wouldn't be surprised if the people that made the Order 1886 figured something out with VR, and Facebook is like, we need that tech, we
Yeah.
need those minds on our side, and then they'll just work with them.
Mm-hmm.
And like I mentioned earlier, there might just not be a game that comes from this, but some technology could come.
Yeah,
from
you might
this.
just see their hands all over all the other Oculus games. So.
Yeah. All right. The next story, I don't really like going into rumors, but I thought this was important because this is another studio that we've been talking about. Like, what the hell are they doing? So, some people on, I think it's Reset Era, found out that Ubisoft, or not Ubisoft, Warner Brothers, registered a bunch of website domains over the last couple weeks, including Suicide Squad KillTheJusticeLeague.com and like Suicide Squad Game.com and a bunch of other URLs. And Eurogamer looked into this, and Eurogamer is confirming that Rocksteady is working on a Suicide Squad game. They can't confirm like how long the game's been in development, but they like the game won't be like a launch title for the new consoles. It is being worked on exclusively for those consoles. But where in the last 5 years this game has been in development is unknown at the time.
I don't think Suicide Squad carries enough brand recognition to put it on a box art.
Yeah, I don't either, and especially like I would assume this would be Suicide Squad in the Rocksteady Batman universe because that would just make sense. And I don't know if we've seen enough of those characters that are in the Suicide Squad in the Batman games, and I don't know if I want those versions of the characters in a Rocksteady game, even for next gen. The thing is, it's been 5 years since Arkham Knight. Since Arkham Knight came out, Suicide Squad came out in 2016. It made $446.8 million worldwide at the box office.
That movie
To
came out in
spin up-
2016.
Yes, it's been that long, which kind of lines up with the timeline of when Arkham Knight came out and probably when they greenlit this idea of doing a Suicide Squad one. So maybe this is just one of those things where Warner Brothers saw the money, like we have a potentially $1 billion franchise. And
Yeah, but you realize pretty
told him to go
quick
for it.
afterwards that you don't.
yeah, you definitely do.
This
but
is not a
executives-
licensing agreement. Like,
Yeah, but Warner Brothers, I feel like they've been holding back on like synergy, that favorite corporate word we hear about, and they just haven't synergized enough, and this could be their way of doing it, but they just maybe the executives didn't know how long it takes to develop a video game. And it's just super late. But like Suicide Squad came out 2016, made like 750 million. Birds of Prey came out this year, only made 200 million, but COVID happened. And then there's a Suicide Squad reboot directed by James Gunn coming out next year. So maybe they're like trying to take advantage of that, and maybe it'll be out next year along with the Suicide Squad reboot movie, which people would hope is good. James Gunn's attached, so it has a chance, but
I just don't want this kind of game from them. Like,
I don't either.
yeah, I mean, I don't want Rocksteady to. I'm gonna try to say this as delicately as I can. I don't want Rocksteady to just continue to build on the world that they've already built. I would love to see them do something completely different. Like, not necessarily completely different, but like we've always talked about, like a Ninja Turtle style game with their engine and their combat system, something cooperative. And I just don't like Suicide Squad doesn't
you kind of want them out of the DC
No, I
universe,
don't even
right?
care if it's
Like,
not of the DC universe. Like, like I would almost at this point be okay with some kind of Batman vs Superman storyline that they're trying to play with the combat, and if they're going to go that route. But I just think there's so many other cool characters that you could build a game around and have some of the Suicide Squad people make appearances in the story or on a side mission or as a DLC or something. Not to build an like I don't like I just don't see PS5, Xbox Series X, PC, DC Comics presents or Rocksteady presents Suicide Squad. Like it just doesn't like that's not going to be one of those things where you walk into a store and it's Batman, Arkham Knight. Like it just doesn't carry it or Spider-Man.
yeah, I've never been a fan of like the Suicide Squad concept in general, and the horrible movie in 2016 just like proved that even more. It's a weird concept, and it almost seems like too easy and kind of boring for Rocksteady to do.
And it's
If this
not
is
next
true.
gen. Like this would be like the end of this gen. Like if they were going to
Yeah,
do something like this, like because it would just be building on the same foundation. Because you're in
yeah, the same
you're in the same
foundation.
world. Like you could tie it to Arkham somehow if you wanted to. Tie it to Gotham. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not too sure about this move. Apparently, they are gonna announce this. There's a DC fandom event in August, which I'm assuming is a digital event, where they'll announce the next Batman game from Montreal, Warner Brothers, which is I forget what it's called.
They did
Uh,
Arkham Origins, right?
they did Arkham Origins, which was okay. It wasn't bad. People made fun out of it because it was bad, but it wasn't bad. It was just mediocre compared to the Rocksteady games. Yeah. So there, the Gotham Knights game from WB Montreal will be announced, and that's like a Court of Owls Batman game. So you're gonna have your regular Batman game or your Batman like experience, and then you're gonna have Suicide Squad being made by the A Team, which just seems more confusing to me. Like when you want your A Team working on the Batman game, and then have Warner Brothers Montreal, the B Team, working on a Suicide Squad thing. I think that would be like I are
Yeah.
you do you not like the concept of Suicide Squad or the fact that Rocksteady is doing a Suicide Squad? Because I think it's more
Both.
for me the latter. Okay.
For me, it's both. I just don't like. I've seen the Suicide Squad characters in the the Arrowverse or the Arrow DC CW world. Don't care. The movie I heard is terrible.
It
So
is. It's
I haven't even like that hasn't even been something that when I'm flipping through stuff when I've been on a plane going to and from the East Coast to West Coast that I picked to watch, and I think I watched Justice League on the plane.
that's a mistake.
Yeah, so I mean, it's not even something that's worth my time on a plane. Ever like, oh, if I fall asleep, like I just like I don't care. Like the Joker character is, like, and I feel like that, like you were mentioning, but A Team versus B Team, like it's been 5 years since Arkham Knight. Like I would almost at this point be okay with another Batman game.
That's what it's weird is about it. It's just like it would almost feel better if they just went back to Batman because it's been so long. Uh, and there's not only so much you could do with the Suicide Squad.
And I'm also
So
just tired of I'm just tired of hearing about all these other speculations and rumors of what they're doing. Like there comes a certain point in time where just Rocksteady put a logo on your website and say we'll talk to you in August.
that would be so helpful. That would be fantastic if they just were like, "Hey, yeah, we're making this." I'm hoping because of all this is leaking, they'll just pull an EA and like, "Here's a trailer. Come back to us in August, and we'll show you how it plays."
Yeah.
Especially if like the Suicide Squad ends up being like a co-op game, then I'm gonna be even more upset those Ninja Turtle rumors were fake. Because if like they could figure it out like the Batman combat with co-op, I'm gonna be very upset that it's gonna be Suicide Squad, and I'm gonna play as Harley Quinn, Deadshot.
See, you can't even name them.
I can't because they're all the whole point of Suicide Squad's like started as like a joke.
It's the land of
in
misfit toys.
yeah, but not even the good kind of land of misfit toys.
Truck with square wheels.
Yeah, it's such a shame. I hope this isn't true. The Eurogamer usually doesn't post stuff unless they can back it up. So hopefully we're wrong. Hopefully they got some bad intel and it's not a Suicide Squad game.
Or
And
even that
Warner-
they're in there. Like I would at this point, like like okay, like there's a significant. They play a significant role in the story. Like like,
Yeah.
but it's not. They're not the focal point. Like that would be like what I would be okay with, I guess.
If it was Justice League colon the Suicide Squad, as opposed to the Suicide Squad kills the Justice League, I think we'd be having a different discussion. Of if the game was you have to like round up the Suicide Squad and you're playing Justice League people, that would be significantly more interesting.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next one. A little bit of sad news,
Yeah.
at least for me. Cyberpunk has been delayed yet again. It is now set to release November 19th. So, what, a week before Thanksgiving slash Black Friday? For us in the States?
Also, probably the launch of the next gen consoles that week.
Yes, yep. So, the reason they're updating is they need additional time.
The reason, in air quotes.
Yeah. The reason is for
I'm
additional
okay
times.
with this decision, by the way. So
Yeah, it bug fixes and balancing mechanics.
all right, let's be real. You can sit there and talk about whatever the press release says or doesn't say, but people are already speculating and talking about it before of waiting until next gen. This just eliminates that process. Like if they want to buy it strictly on next gen and not start it in September on PS4 and play it on PS5, or start it in September on Xbox One and move it to Series X, like this just essentially eliminates that decision.
This totally just saves. I was gonna run into that problem too because I would prefer to play Cyberpunk on console than my PC.
Smart delivery or no smart delivery, like it's just like I wonder, like, and this is 100% pure speculation on my part, but I also wonder if the possibility of during playtesting, like maybe there's hiccups with smart delivery right now. Mm-hmm. Like something minor, like like I'm not saying that like your entire save would get deleted, but maybe it doesn't upgrade as well. Like I don't know. Like this, like, and so CD Projekt Red is seeing that, and you go, you know what? Like, we really need to try to buff this game out a little bit more, make it, just make it a little bit more of a, high end experience. And because like right, wrong, or indifferent, pushing this to this time frame puts it in a lot of competition, like whatever the next Call of Duty is going to be, or if it is tied to the next gen consoles, like what kind of launch lineup are they going against with PlayStation? Like this is where your game can get buried, though. Like if you're walking in and buying, it could get buried. Like they carry some potential, but it's not Witcher 4, it's Cyberpunk.
Yeah, the what I can see though is right before the new consoles released, we're going to see a bunch of games just trying to get out the door on PS4 and Xbox One that won't have a PS5 version or a native PS5 version. So maybe this benefits them of just like waiting till the new consoles are out, so they can get those day one sales.
I think it gives them. I think it also gives people a significant reason. If they can, whatever they're going to show, I think we're supposed to see some Cyberpunk stuff soon from Summer Games Fest.
This week.
If they can show like a significant difference, which we've been talking about for months, if they can sit there and talk about this is how you're going to look on current gen, this is how it's going to look on next gen, regardless of the smart delivery being a thing or not being a thing on PlayStation and on Xbox. If they show like side by side comparisons of the two, like it will help sell next gen consoles. People will buy the next console because that's a game that I want to play. That's how I want it to look.
So here's the thing: they confirmed that if you buy it on PS4 and Xbox One, you will get a free update on next gen consoles. So the PS4 and Xbox One versions will run on the next gen consoles because backwards compatibility, and you will see an improved performance on those consoles at launch. But there will be a more robust update arriving at a later time with like native stuff for those consoles. So even day one of PS5 and Xbox Series X, you're not going to get the PS5 and Xbox Series X version of those games. You're going to get like an improved version of the previous gen.
Which again tells me that they're probably waiting to see how Sony and Microsoft's UI and download processes are going to work live.
It's going to be a good test because if they're talking about a big update, a robust update that could like change the game significantly, I'm guessing they'll just have you download the entire game over again.
Or a texture
Uh,
pack again, like
yeah, like optional texture packs and everything like that. Uh, so they reiterated and confirmed PS5 is part of the upgrade program, despite not having smart delivery. Avengers actually from Square Enix announced today that they are also going to support upgrades and compatibility from PS4 to PS5 and Xbox One to Xbox Series X. Uh, but I don't know if they use smart delivery specifically for the Series X, but it sounds like Sony has it. They just don't have any fancy marketing term for that. So it looks like games are supporting this jump. This also means that the DLC plans. I love that they had to do an interview about this, or they had to tell investors that like, hey, this delay all the DLC expansions for Cyberpunk in the multiplayer component. That they are going to add eventually, and I keep forgetting that they have promised a multiplayer mode for Cyberpunk 2077. Though they said the delay won't affect the multiplayer that much because it's still super far off. So it sounds like the multiplayer might be like a year or two down the road from Cyberpunk 2077 even launching.
yeah,
But
I mean, does uh, does a Cyberpunk multiplayer appeal to you?
fuck no, that's not why. Like, I am interested in this. I'm interested in this based on The Witcher and how those games run. I want a world that I can live in and get myself immersed with. I don't care about a multiplayer experience, and I still, since I haven't played Cyberpunk 2077, I don't know how they handle shooting controls. So without knowing how those controls feel, I don't know if I can get happy or excited for a multiplayer component until I know how that game feels. If on day one of Cyberpunk 2077, I control that game and I'm like, oh man, this is one of the best FPSs I've ever played, then maybe I'll be interested in a multiplayer. But till then, The Witcher 3, I love that game, one of my favorite games of all time. It didn't control great at first, and they reiterated and patched it, and even then, it's not like the best controlling third-person action game. So I'm hesitant to get excited for the multiplayer for Cyberpunk 2077, especially if it's like significantly down the road.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean, like it's fascinating. Like it's been delayed so many times, and like they're saying the right things. They do like CD Projekt Red does what they want. Like they don't really have to answer to anybody. So since they're they own the IP, they own the studio, like all that stuff. Like they're not stressing about it. Their game is going to sell, but it's getting to the point of where like it's just needs to come out.
It does. I think they just got too excited, and they call their own shots at CD Projekt Red. So every time they've announced a release date, it's not really a publisher pushing them like other instances of developers.
Well,
and
we were
publishers
all
announcing too early.
surprised last year at E3 that they said the date, and now that date's been delayed twice.
3 times actually. Wasn't it supposed to be out in March, and then
March,
delayed to
September, and then so I mean they
Yeah.
dated it for March, they
Yeah.
delayed it, they dated it for September, they delayed it.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Yeah, it's been delayed way too many times
Yeah.
at this point. So they just need to just shut up and like bring this game out. Like another delay would suck. I almost we talked about this with Khalif. Like I hate when they announce stuff too early and we get
stop
delayed and then we get
dating
frustrated.
it. Like just stop dating it.
Yeah.
Just say 2020.
Yeah, just give us a window. I miss windows. Like when they're just like fall or that should have been they shouldn't have dated it the first time they delayed it. They should have just said fall instead of putting a date. Because now we're waiting until November, which I guess I'm fine with. It's one more game I'll pick up with my Series X or my PS5.
Yeah.
But that's it for Cyberpunk. And now the biggest news today that this came out of nowhere. Microsoft is shutting down Mixer as of July 22nd. They
Crazy.
They just threw it out. Phil Spencer, talking with The Verge, said we started pretty far behind in terms of where Mixer's monthly active viewers were compared to some of the big players out there, Twitch. I think Mixer community is really good to. I think the Mixer community is really going to benefit from the broad audience that Facebook has, through their properties and the abilities to reach gamers in a very seamless way through social platform Facebook has. So
they hate Twitch, so since they hate Twitch, they're redirecting all their streamers to Facebook.
Yep, and they're partnering with Facebook Gaming, which this is the best part. Hasn't been confirmed yet, but Ninja and Shroud, the two biggest streamers on Mixer, signed exclusivity deals with Mixer, not Facebook. So they were asked if they wanted to continue, and there was reports that they might have been asked for double what they're currently getting to move to Facebook. And Ninja and Shroud said no, and now they're free agents. But because they said no, Microsoft had to buy them out of their contracts. Ninja contract with Mixer was reportedly at $30 million. They had to buy him out. So who knows what lump sum that he got from that $30 million. If potentially they had to give him all of it. And then Shroud had a $10 million contract that they had to buy him out or potentially give him all of it.
And I guarantee you they both still own the rights to their Twitch URL, and they both are probably still under partnership guideline rules on Twitch.
Oh, yeah. Twitch took his partnership away technically, but they'll reactivate that account in a heartbeat because he's still really popular.
Well, it's not even a matter of reactivating it. Both of them, if they go back to Twitch, will hit the requirements day one.
Yeah.
Of concurrent viewer. I mean, maybe not day one, but they'd be dumb not to give them day one. I think you have to do something for 30 days or something like that. But
yeah, they'll break the rules for that.
Yeah. I think that YouTube will be a player in this. In terms of trying to get one of them or both of them. And then, a couple of the other streamers that have been mid-tier streamers, I played a lot of Destiny. I followed King Gathalion. He does a lot of stuff with St. Jude's and the Guardian Con gamer event that just went on last week that raised over $6 million for St. Jude's. He left for Mixer a couple months ago. He's already announced today that he is going to Facebook. So in terms of trying to grow a community and what he's trying to do there and help from that standpoint, I think personally the biggest reason that Ninja and Shroud turned Facebook down, and talking to some other streamers that I've had opportunities to interact with and communicate with, whether at events or in other ways, the biggest, I feel like, because streamers are very, very worried about their viewers and their community. That's their top priority, similar to what DDG is trying to build in terms of with our community. Ours is a little bit different, but a streamer is talking to their chat on a regular basis, obviously. And a lot of what chat the viewers is the anonymity that Twitch and Mixer gave them of usernames, which you do not get on Facebook.
Yes.
And you really kind of get it on YouTube, but you don't if you're trying to do anything relevant in YouTube. People know who you are based on, YouTube, depending on if you link it with your Google accounts and your Gmail accounts. And Facebook, obviously, you can make some funky thing in Facebook if you want, but it makes it a challenge to be a regular Facebook user and then still watch stuff on Facebook and have this funky name, or then your friends are like, why is your name this? Oh, I don't want people to know who I am. It's Facebook, dude.
And another thing that I've heard from people is a lot of people don't even know where to go for Facebook gaming content.
Yeah, it's the same problem with YouTube. With YouTube live streams, it's buried.
Yeah, you go to the channel, sometimes it doesn't see it, and then you have to dig around their homepage to see, oh, they're live. Facebook's bad, and then also Facebook's just a fucking toxic wasteland, especially now. Twitch isn't much better if you go into a popular streamer's channel. It is hell, but there's at least good moderation tools that can be used to take care of that, and I don't know if Facebook quite has that down. Just look at Facebook in the news any hour of the day, and there's some bullshit behind Facebook. So there's a reason why Ninja and Shroud decided no, we're not gonna go with Facebook. And who I feel bad for in this are the people that are going to get laid off from Mixer. There was some quote about them keeping the people on because they want to use the streaming technology. The social media people, all the people doing community outreach, they're going to be let go. I feel real bad for the smaller or mid-tier people that jumped with Shroud and Ninja to this new platform and ditched Twitch, abandoned their Twitch channels, and now we're going to have to go through the process of getting reaffiliated, getting repartnered, and that just sucks. And then they have to refit into the Twitch community, which their spot was probably taken by a dozen other people in the time that they were away. If you look on Mixer right now, there's just a bunch of content creators, small, medium, and large, that are just like devastated by this because they found out with everyone else that like the platform they're on is gone.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel real bad for that.
It's Microsoft throwing the towel in though. Like they just realized that they just can't compete. Like they grabbed Ninja, they grabbed Shroud, and you stopped hearing about Ninja. Like he wasn't in the news.
Yeah.
He wasn't doing. I mean, he was doing stuff, but he wasn't for whatever reason. It wasn't relevant. It's like it's similar to like Fox Sports, trying to compete with what ESPN's trying to do. Like they've been in it for the long haul. Fox Sports has, and they're slowly trying to get a foothold, but. You still like it's everybody's like, oh, like if you want to know what happened, it's 11 o'clock at night, and you want to know what happened in the sports world, you turn on ESPN for Sports Center. Like you don't,
Yep.
like all these other nighttime shows that they've tried to do, like you just can't do it. Like you go to if anything, like somebody would go to Mixer for their one or two people that they know or they really enjoyed watching, but they're not scrolling around the Mixer directory like you do in Twitch.
Yeah, and the discoverability wasn't there for Mixer. And
Well, Twitch's discoverability isn't there either, so.
That's what I'm saying is,
Yeah.
or I was gonna say is like Mixer had a blueprint they could have followed in terms of taking the spots that like Twitch has ignored with some of the community guidelines and just discoverability. They could have really done something there with a smaller amount of streamers. They could have fine-tuned discoverability and done some really good stuff there, but they didn't. And I feel like they more focused on throwing money at individual streamers than throwing money at the platform itself. They just thought like, okay, we're going to throw all of our money at 2 or 3 of the biggest streamers and see what happens. And I think they should have thrown their money at 10 to 20 streamers and really went at it, because who knows how many streamers they could have got for Ninja, the amount of money they paid one person.
And he didn't move the needle.
No, he didn't. Like, he brought people there, but they were only there for him. And then when he went offline, they went offline as well. And then that's when they started to jump at other like high stream. Like, there's a stat like they brought like a good percentage of like the top 20 Twitch people to Mixer, and it just didn't matter. So yeah, this is crazy. A little light on why Microsoft is forwarding everything to Facebook. Facebook and Microsoft announced that when Project xCloud launches, they're going to build into the Facebook infrastructure where you can just launch a game with a click and load up the game in your browser or wherever on your phone and play the game you're watching a streamer play, or you see a Facebook ad and you click it and you're already at the start menu of the game. Basically everything that Stadia was promising Microsoft will do with xCloud with Facebook, and that is like their ultimate goal. And honestly, they seem more competent with xCloud than Stadia is, so they'll probably reach that dream soon, because I think xCloud is coming later this year. So this might have been part of that deal where Facebook's like, we're really trying to get Facebook gaming going, Mixer's struggling, let's work on a deal because we're already helping you with the xCloud stuff. So they're doing that, so that's why they partnered with Facebook.
Well, and they're not going to.
Nowhere else.
They're not going to partner with Twitch.
Yeah, but there's at least reason why they would just call in a towel, because they've only been really trying with Mixer for the last like 2 years since I purchased them, 3 years, and they could have ridden out the storm, because it's not like Mixer was struggling. It's just the numbers just weren't going up fast enough for their liking.
Well, their mobile app sucks.
Yeah, it does. Their mobile app.
We see some of the data and everything like that. Small bits and pieces of the data with our YouTube channel, and are in like 80% of your people are on mobile, even on Twitch.
Yeah,
that's why 4K doesn't matter.
And it's funny though, because it's like of course they had to partner with Facebook, is because Stadia is doing that stuff with their own service of YouTube.
Yeah,
Google's gonna use YouTube for Stadia. So it left Microsoft with the only option of you going to Facebook, because, or they could have went with Twitter, but that would have been even weirder if they would have like seen if Twitter could do anything for them
Right.
for integration.
It just came out
But
of
who
left.
knows?
It came out of left field. Like this wasn't rumored. Like there wasn't even streamers that were hinting at this. I think that saw a couple streamers that I follow on Twitter that are Mixer streamers are like, I'm not streaming today. I've got some things I got to work on. So I think that they might have found out like early this morning before it went like public.
Yeah, yeah, and that's if they were like high enough to get an email from Microsoft.
Yeah, under contract probably. So
Yeah. So yeah, just crazy because we were talking to. I was excited about the idea of Mixer like signing up all this talent because I wanted competition in the streaming market. And they made their splash. It just didn't work. Ninja and Shroud are gonna walk away with this even richer, and then they're gonna put Twitch or YouTube Gaming, cash more checks. It's
yeah,
crazy.
Ninja comes out on top of this the whole thing. If he got bought out and he goes right back to Twitch and probably goes right back to what he was doing. Like they'll go right back to him. It's like
and do better numbers because his numbers went down when he went to Mixer. So it's crazy times. Just I wasn't expecting, especially before a new console launched, for Microsoft to just shutter one of the things in their gaming division because Mixer was very much in their gaming division, or it could have been really close to their gaming division. Launching a new console with Mixer integration, all that stuff could have been.
Oh yeah, the share like a share style button going right to Mixer, like everything. So there's a lot to unpack there, but I mean I'm sure we'll hear more in the next couple of days.
Yeah. That is it for news. Pokemon Snap and Crash 4 were announced, which is cool. It's $19.99 again. But there wasn't much to say about those.
I missed the title, like some of the headlines and stuff this morning. Like, there's been hints about Crash for like the last couple of weeks that something was coming, and then like that it's Crash for It's About Time. And the first couple of times I was skimming through Twitter this morning, seeing that it was formally announced, and I'm like, are people making a reference to It's About Time that it got announced?
yeah, no. So it's a good name. That was a weird presentation because it was like. Jeff Keighley this morning did the trailer. He had a quick interview unrelated to that. The interview was followed with an interview with Alf, which was weird and kind of cringy to watch Jeff Keighley interview Alf. And then there was like some Day of the Dev. I forgot the company because they got bought by Microsoft. Double Fine Productions do their Day of the Dev events. So then that's been going on the Summer Games Fest. But we'll have more stuff happening. Tomorrow's New Game Plus. Tuesday is New Game Plus, which we might record something, or me and Chris from Active Quest might record something, depending on how good the show is. Then we have the Cyberpunk thing later this week. There's a Marvel Avengers thing this week. So there's a lot of stuff happening. We're getting closer to finding out about what's going on during the holiday. So plenty of news to hopefully talk about over the next couple days and for next week. Hopefully no more games get delayed.
All right.
That is it for news.
Yeah, we're going to jump into somewhat brief what we're playing and watching, and then I think that we're just going to have during playing and watching, we're going to have a conversation around Last of Us. Spoiler-free, very small. We are planning something a little bit more formal for Last of Us. Somebody already beat the game. Fucker. So for me, like earlier in the week, I just from home things is that I had a new roof put on, so that was a little bit of a challenging stuff. My son finally got a car, so that was some of the stuff that was going on during this week. And I just I knew I was going to be playing a lot of The Last of Us, so earlier on in the week I kind of took it easy. Last week I think I said that I watched Patch Adams. Like I had a desire to watch a Robin Williams show, and then my wife found a documentary on Robin Williams, which was fascinating. Robin Williams, like Welcome to My Mind or something like that, or
yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, so that was really cool, just seeing how he how the sitcom started and how he started, and going back and forth with what he did, and it was just really cool to see that. So that's a really good documentary. If you're at all a Robin Williams fan, I recommend that. And just the people that he hung out with, and that he his relationship with Billy Crystal. and then just in general, like the relationship that he had with other comedians and actors. It was just really cool to see that. And then it was part of the streaming thing. We watched, my wife and I watched Just Mercy, which is the comedy, or not a comedy. I don't even know where that word came out of my mouth. It's a drama on an inmate in Alabama on death row. A black inmate in Alabama on death row. You should definitely check it out. It's like they made the movie free on almost every streaming service, or you should just be able to watch it for free because of all the Black Lives Matter stuff going on right now. Again, I'm terrible with actors' names, but overall, like it was just really good to see. Like not good, but fascinating to watch. Just like it's based on a true story, just to see how crazy it is. And how crazy it was, the court systems, how Alabama, the South, how things are treated, what happens, and seeing like a mountain of evidence pile up on one side, and a judge being like, "Yeah, nope, don't care." It's just It was just crazy, and then finally, just it being like forced, and there's there's twists in there, and and just listening to the other things that are going on in the world now, just taking the time just to learn. Whether it's Juneteenth or any of this stuff, or having a conversation with your friends, or even having a conversation that you don't want to have with your friends to find out how they think. It's fascinating. Like just the stuff that's like all the tied into all the Confederate flag stuff that's going on with NASCAR and all that other crazy stuff. Just looking at what people are idolizing and what people are building their values on. It's rough. So, those are the two things that I watched, and then I dabbled just very, very slightly in Destiny. Again, it was like we recorded, and then, like it was like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday were pretty mellow for me, with a little bit with work, and still got my damn stitches in. Hopefully, I get these out this week. It's almost gonna be like a month that I've had these in.
Yeah, it's like I'm playing with them on stream, off camera. I'm just like, ugh.
No, it's the Band-Aid.
Okay, I'm just like, Dave's gonna have to go because he's gonna pull his stitches in the middle of the stream.
No. So like just trying to, like I run into some situations where my hand starts to hurt. But it was Father's Day too, so I did play a lot of Last of Us on Father's Day. As riveting as that sounds,
I was just thinking of just like having a good time. The Last of Us on Thursday.
Well,
that game's I know what it is.
Yeah, it was a day off. I had the day off of work, and my both the older kids were working. So we send Owen in the other room or play outside, and again, Angela treats this like a movie. So she's sitting there watching, and trying, and she's just enjoying it, like letting it soak in. Like she's trying to pay attention, but she still gets lost in her phone sometimes while she's watching. But for the most part, she pays attention. But that's it for playing and watching for me without the Last of Us conversation.
Yeah, for me, the only other game that I played other than Last of Us and Disintegration, that we'll talk about a little bit later, was West of Dead, which is a roguelite twin-stick shooter. This is the game that's popped up. I think it popped up sometime last year at E3, or popped up at the Game Awards, something like that, where it's a very stylized, like almost like comic book looking game starring Ron Perlman. You play as a cowboy character who's like stuck in purgatory, so you are going through these labyrinth like levels, pretty much blind and just trying to survive. Because it's a roguelike, every time you die you start the game over from the beginning. You can get some upgrades down the line that you can take with you to your next playthrough. Like the first one that I got was just the ability to hold a health flask so I can heal myself in the middle of battle. It's a brutal game, like most roguelikes are, in terms of you're gonna die a lot. You need to play it slow, you need to play it smart. Shooting feels pretty good. I'm playing it on Steam on PC. We were given a review code for it from the publisher, and on PC. So I've been playing that. It's on PS4, Xbox, and I think the Switch. It's fun. I love Ron Perlman, the actor. So having his voice, especially his voice, it's real powerful in this very stylish game. Is kind of a treat for me. and I'll probably give a full review next week. The game's just it's tough, and I have a hate love relationship when it comes to roguelites or roguelikes, where I get frustrated with the idea of like dying and starting at the beginning. But the mechanics are fun enough, and I like kind of going into a level blind. You see on the mini map, it's all dark, and you can see the areas where I was. When I pull up the map, you can see everywhere I was, and then just figuring out like, okay, there might be a doorway here. Hopefully, this takes me to a different location. Then trying to find portals to jump to different parts of the map. So I'm just
Yeah,
slowly working my way through.
they always have this, like, if they can strike that balance of like it not feeling dramatically punishing to die. Like there still is consequences to death, but it's not like controller throwing punishment, like where you're like, I'm
Yeah,
done, like versus, all right, you know what, I messed up, that was my fault. I can be back there in 10 minutes and I can progress farther next time. Like
yeah, like every time I've died, it's been my fault, or at least I accept it as my fault, because the enemies are very pattern like. Like once you see an enemy, you're like, okay, they have 3 shots and then they're gonna reload. So as long as I use this cover and use my gun wisely and actually keep count of how many bullets I have, because reload animation takes a while, I can get through most of the map. The map is procedurally generated every time you start it, for the most part, or at least that's what I believe it's doing. So that can be a
typically
little frustrating.
that style of
Yeah.
game does that, yes.
Yeah, so that can be a little frustrating, but anytime I die, it's usually my own fault because I get impatient or wasn't paying attention to like, oh, my cover can only take 5 shots before my cover is blown, or I didn't see an enemy there. I should have done some sort of trick or used a different gun to take care of the enemy. So it's not frustrating. Everything that's bad that's happening is my fault. It's going to be a tough game for me to get through, just because I get impatient a lot and make dumb mistakes all the time. But I'm not mad at the game for that. And then that's kind of it for playing. And then watching, I just put 30 hours into The Last of Us Part 2. So that's been my last 4 days. I can't think of anything else that I've been watching that matters. I am kind of rewatching The Last of Us 1 on YouTube now that I finished Last of Us 2, just so I can remember that stuff, because Sarah's super into it. So anytime she's working, like today, she's been watching The Last of Us Part 1. So I've been just hopping in watching that with her. But yeah, let's get into The Last of Us a little bit. Spoiler free
Yeah.
Last of Us discussion.
Yeah, this will be more centered around gameplay, likes and dislikes of the game. Like, we're not going to talk about the story or anything like that. I put something in our Facebook group today that I think some people like kind of misunderstood a little bit, but not. I mean, it's okay. It's a conversation.
Yeah.
So we all knew that like this game is going to be a gut punch. Like, if you didn't know that this game was going to be a gut punch, then you haven't been paying attention. And I'm totally fine with it being a gut punch, like in terms of things that are going to happen in the game and how the game plays. And since the reveal, like, this game is brutal.
This game's super brutal. And to your point about the gut punch thing, if you actually paid attention and played the first game, you would know there was no other way, no other possibilities for this game to go. Like, the world is just a brutal, violent, horrible world that is The Last of Us. And there's only so much they can go from how like the first game ended. Like, the first game ended with like humanity being damned, and it was capped with a lie. With that information, how brutal do you expect the second game to get? Like, I expected it to be brutal. It may have been more brutal than I thought it was going to be, but I'm not surprised by it. Or at least how dark this game gets.
Yeah, and so far I'm only 10 hours in.
Mm-hmm.
And like a lot of the people, like even on my public timeline, like my Facebook timeline with like friends and other people that I've affiliated with, I definitely don't feel like being, like in comparison, if you played 30 hours and I played 10, so in theory I'm roughly a third of the way into the game. Like, I don't think depression is a word that I personally would use when I play this game. Like, I don't get depressed when I play the game.
No, yeah, I
personally.
don't
So
even.
yeah.
No, I do get dread. Uh, just some of the actions. You haven't hit any of them just yet, but there are some points in the game where when I was playing with Sarah, I'm just like, I don't know if I want to do these actions. I did the actions because that's what you do to progress the story, but there was things happening that I'm just like, man, I feel really shitty for pressing square right now, but let's press square.
Okay. Yeah. And okay. So there's my first little nick in the armor of the game. Okay. And then I don't even really know what you're talking about. But in reference, in comparison to Last of Us 1, I felt like you had much more of a choice in terms of how you proceeded in combat than you do in this game.
You no, you totally have a choice in this game. Because of how open the areas are, you definitely have a choice with how you want to take encounters. I'm talking more about like story related stuff, like that the story has to go to certain places and you have to play
Yeah.
through those moments. That those are
But
there's some dread in it.
are you saying in some of those open area encounters that you have in the game that you can actually go through without you can complete it without firing a shot or killing anything?
I played most of this game stealth. Uh, it wasn't until some moments like I was a little trigger happy in the first chunk of the game, but with how the story is told, I became less trigger happy, and that's because of how the story was going. But yeah, you can get through this game with minimal stealth kills. You can't. There's some sections that I was able to go without killing anybody, but then there was also sections where I could have gone without killing people, but I had enough emotions and feelings for certain things that I'm just like, no, I'm gonna go and take some people out.
Okay, because I feel like
So
I've ran into situations where I didn't have a choice at all.
I I think you have a choice through most of the game, to be completely honest, because there were some times where I was thinking of just going into a gun battle, and Sarah's just like, try and stealth this, and then I would get through the whole section. And I'm just like, oh, I got through it. The only part where you kind of don't have a choice, but there's still ways around it, are with the dogs. Dogs are kind of hard to work around in this game, just because they can sense your smell and they're constantly moving. So if you leave any bodies on the ground, they will find that and alert everybody. Which I don't even think you probably dealt with dogs too much 10 hours in. So get ready for that, because then you won't have a choice.
I've had an encounter with them, so
Yeah, they're kind of hard to get around, but there's been sections where I've made it to the exit and then without killing anybody, but then I'm just like, I need some supplies, and then I start to like go back
yeah. And see, like, and
backwards.
that's the thing too is I guess like I like the scavenging and the rummaging and exploring. Like you see a lot of cool things, you see a lot of cool Easter eggs, posters, like figurines, like you break glass figures, like But that also means if you really want to explore and find anything, like you got to kill everything. Which I mean, for the most part, you got to kill everything.
You do
Yeah.
for the most part, and at least some sections that is definitely the case,
I
because
I also don't like the point of no return barriers that are in the game.
yeah, there's definitely a couple of those. We talked about this beforehand. We won't talk details obviously on this show, but there was Dave got to experience a cutscene and a character building moment that I didn't get to encounter because I didn't realize that like just
You didn't
being
go.
on
You
my
didn't.
horse
You
just a
didn't.
little too
Yeah.
far.
Well, even though like you didn't go up to steps and go all the way to the other hallway, like,
Yeah.
and that's fine if it's not significant story beats. But in terms of the storytelling, the relationship building that they're attempting to do, and then the way that sometimes the game doesn't, the certain things that the game doesn't give you a choice of, like where the L3 button says click me, click me, click me, click me, look here, click. And then if you're taking too long, it's like look here, click, click, click. And I think I can turn that off, but I just haven't yet.
Yeah, I need to turn that. I should have turned that off because there was some points in the game that frustrated the hell out of me. Because it's just like, damn game, I'm like, I just cleared this area. I want to look around it, and the game's like, look over here, and a character is also being like, no, the exit's here.
There
And
was
it's
a
like,
mechanic that I thought was pretty cool, like if you cleared a room early on, like where it would, indicate that you cleared an area.
yeah. There's actually something in accessibility. There's detective mode in accessibility. I don't know if you want to try that, where if you like click one of the analog buttons, it'll send a wave and then mark everything of interest. But I didn't use that because that's immersion breaking for
Yeah.
me.
I mean, I'm not like I just like it's not like, again, it's not like criticisms, but I just feel like it, it sucks for you that you might have missed a really cool like character building moment,
Yeah.
relationship building moment of maybe to make you care more about a character. And then I just don't remember there being this much reading in the first one. Every letter you pick up. Okay.
No, there
Yeah.
definitely was, and
I
it
just don't
wasn't as
remember it.
elegant.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
It wasn't as elegant because rewatching The Last of Us Part One right now with Sarah a little bit. Every time the YouTube video picks up a note, and I just see how they display the text, and I'm just like, oh, it's so much better in Part Two. Yeah. The only thing that sucks though is you can't talk about this game without being attacked, which is super frustrating. I mentioned on day one, like, oh, I'm 10 hours in and I'm liking the game, and I had like 3 people that don't follow me who are just following the search and talking shit about my opinion of the game or talking shit about the game. And most of the stuff they're talking about, they haven't played the game. They're going off the leaks, and we talked about this when we talked about the leaks being available, that people were going to see them, and it's a couple hour gameplay and it's stuff out of context, and then they made their assumptions about the game out of context. And every time I see a criticism from an angry person, they're going off the leaks and that's all they have. And it's really hard to judge a game like this that's 30 hours off of like a cutscene that's
Yeah.
like 20 minutes.
Especially when, at least it appears so far, that the stuff that we were shown at E3, like the trailers, those were all like foreshadowing story building.
Yes.
Like there are certain things that, and it's not uncommon for Naughty Dog to do something like that. Like we've seen like gameplay scenes in the game in their games, like shown at E3 or shown at like events. But a lot of the stuff that they've been doing for The Last of Us Part 2 that they've been building up to, when you saw, like, that was just them trying to build the atmosphere and build the characters of like, okay, that's just the world that you're in, and it's just more or less making your mind think about the people that you're seeing.
Yeah. But though I have seen people complain about that too, of like, oh, the trailers lied to us, and it's just like, no, they didn't. If you play the game, you will see this stuff in context from where it is in the game, as opposed to a standalone trailer, and it's driving me nuts. I can't wait to talk about this game like at length with you, like spoilers and all, just because I feel like there's a really long discussion about this game.
This is the difference between working and furlough.
Yes, it totally is. But to be fair, I played it over the weekend. I had, so. And Sarah's been watching, like, she watched me play this game the entire time. She was the one, like, pushing me through it to where, like, we'd wake up Saturday and she's like, we're playing The Last of Us right now. And then we played for, like, 12 hours straight. Like, there was 3 nights in a row. We went to sleep at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and then 3 o'clock in the morning. And then today we had, like, the epilogue to finish. And played that, and yeah, I love the game. I can't wait to talk about it at length instead of vagueness, because there's a lot of stuff that is out there right now. It's super toxic. I hate that everything gets turned into like a your team versus my team bullshit with everything. And it's happened with The Last of Us, and it's a damn shame.
Yeah,
because I think it's a good game.
I love what they're trying to what Naughty Dog is attempting to do with this game, and trying to broaden the game and build the franchise, which I'm hoping that I'm hoping that they continue to do stuff in this universe. It's just, it's interesting to me and I think I wrote this. I really am in the mood right now for a point A to point B to point C to point D to point E game, of where like I just go and I get to play, and then I get to walk away from it and stop. And for the most part, like God of War was like that for me, but there was still all this other stuff, all this other shiny stuff that I could have played. It wasn't necessarily story relevant, but like some of it, God of War's story was really good, but the combat was also fun. Last of Us story is really good. Combat, I'm not hating it, but it has room, like areas of improvement that I think could be a little bit better. There are things that are happening that are frustrating me.
Yeah, there was definitely some times where I like died or I messed up a stealth kill, and Sarah's like, "Why did you do that?" And I'm just like, "I didn't."
Yeah.
The controls did that.
Yeah, I'm having a little bit of a hard time with the prone and the crawling. Like that's just me.
I didn't use crawling at all. I know I was supposed to, but I just didn't like it, so I just didn't use it.
Yeah, so like I'm having some issues with that. and then just some of the gunplay I'm just having some problems with. But again, it's fine. Like I know that there's things that it's not. This game is not focused around that gameplay, and I'm okay with that. If I die, I'm like, all right, well, I just got to do better. Like I gotta think about it differently, or use my resources better. So I mean, and we are going to. I guess it's on me now. Whenever I beat it, we will record something. Depending, we might try to do it live on Twitch, but if anything, it'll just kind of show up on the feed.
Yeah, probably based on how discussions of this game are going.
Yeah, so we'll see what that is. But again, like your feedback is always appreciated. If you guys want it to be live on Twitch and you guys want to be involved in the conversation with your questions, like as we're recording, like please let us know. If we don't do it live on Twitch and you want to ask your question and let it go, like that's fine. But
since Dave is still playing, if you want to send in stuff for our spoiler cast, you can send it to michael@digitaldaysgaming.com so Dave won't see it before he beats it.
I'd probably if you send an email, I probably just won't even open it. So.
Yeah, but I don't want anyone to risk putting something in the subject line that's a spoiler. So
yeah.
If you want to share your opinions, there's my email. Send it in.
Yeah.
But please play the game and send your thoughts on the game. I do not give a fuck about what you think about the game without playing it. Because, God, I've had to deal with that all weekend anytime I mention this game on Twitter.
Yeah.
So, please.
So, yeah, I mean, let us know how you guys want the spoiler cast to go. Like, we're doing it. Like, it's just going to be, I mean, our goal was, like, early July with Michael beating it as quickly as he has. Like, I'll probably kind of, put my head down a little bit more and try to get through this sooner. Partially
it gets really linear at the end.
Yeah.
If that helps you. Partially
to just... avoid it being spoiled in conversation. Like one of my coworkers is playing it and he's ahead of me. We were talking today and he's like, I'm gonna stop talking. so he's it's fine. He asked me where I was, I told him where I was, and he told me where he was, and and he asked me the last thing I did and he goes, okay. He's like, and then he kind of just, so that we talked a little bit about the stuff that happened prior, but for the most part, I'm enjoying it. It's this is the first time, like, and if you're watching on Twitch or if you've seen any of the streams, like I sit at my desk primarily. I'm sitting in front of this microphone right now in front of multiple monitors. This is where the majority of my game playing has been for the last at least year and a half. And I'm not playing down here. Like I'm playing upstairs in my living room. And like I said, Angela's on the couch, covered up in a blanket, drapes closed, watching me play, and she's asking questions, or we haven't really ran into any kind of like crazy mechanic or anything like that where she likes to get involved. Sometimes she helps me find things or how to get into areas. So I mean, but she's trying to get enthralled in the story. But I'm happy. This is the first one that I won't stream. I just don't think it's worth it, especially this early on. It's not worth it, and this is something that, like Angela and I have, like it's one of my best gaming memories is playing Last of Us 1 and her keeping me up the entire night to beat it. So like, not that that's ever going to happen right now with my work schedule and stuff, but I think she saw that you had beat it, and so she texted me and she's like, so you're off on Thursday? I go, uh-huh. She goes, well, we'll probably just like play the game like really late into the night, Wednesday night into Thursday morning. And she's like, I know you want to beat it. I was like, I do want to beat it, but I'm not rushing through this game. Like,
I don't recommend it, rushing through it. Like, I needed to digest certain moments in the game, but I know I play games a little different than you, in terms of like how I get emotionally attached to some things, to where like there was moments where I needed to digest it, and I'm glad it took me as long as it beat it, even though I beat it in 4 days. But like, man, there were some times where I just needed to break and then like think about everything that happened.
Yeah, I don't get emotionally attached to media in the moment. Any form of media in the moment. It takes time for things to sink in on me later. So like I've never to the point of like, there might be a point where I'm like, all right, this is a good stopping point. And my wife's like, what is wrong with you? Like, she's like, go in the door. Like, so, like, but I'm not really affected. It's weird. I know it's just something I do. My son is very similar. Like I just don't get emotionally attached to in the moment things. So.
Yeah, it's understandable. you probably will have a reflection time with this game though, based on how it goes.
Oh yeah, I'm sure I will.
Uh,
So I
yeah,
fully expect to. So
yeah. All right, let me just talk about Disintegration. Let's just do a review. You played a little bit of Disintegration.
I did.
Uh,
Yep.
yeah, we talked about it a little bit last week. Though we've recorded so many episodes since then, it's weird to say last week. Uh, so Disintegration is from the former creator of Halo, one of the founders of Bungie. It is a first-person shooter with real-time strategy elements. Uh, it's you play as someone that's on a grav cycle, which is basically like a hover vehicle, and you have a squad with you, and you control that squad, giving them basic objectives like telling them where to go, what enemies to attack, and when to use their power ups. Uh, Most of the objectives are very simple. It's like, hey, go to that terminal and turn it on, because I can't because I'm in my bike.
And
So it's
then
kind of
defend the
contrived in that
area.
way. And then defend the area. So it's very simple that way. What interests me the most about this game is the story and the universe. In this universe, humans are given the option of integration, which is transplanting their brain into a robotic body, basically giving them kind of immortality. It also is a definite like who has the money for the best robot suit or the best robot body. So a lot of the robots or people you walk into will look like they're just thrown together with random parts or just look super beat up because they can't upgrade themselves. But you play as Romer, who is a graph cycle pilot, who I almost equate him to kind of like a spokesperson for integration. Because you see early on, there's like a commercial where he's basically pitching the idea of like, hey, you got to do this. I'm a famous grav cycle war hero pilot. I did this. You should do it too. But something goes wrong and he is captured and imprisoned. Uh, Something happens where he breaks out and he joins a group of rebels, and it's like a ragtag group of misfit toys scenario where you were fighting this evil corporation government. I couldn't quite figure out if they're a corporate government or exactly what type of organization they were. Uh, and you just go from there. The story's pretty straightforward hero ragtag group of people. Uh, Really well voice acted,
Hmm.
funny writing with the
Yeah, for sure.
characters. Uh, the cutscenes are really short. Like the opening cutscene is probably the longest, and it's like 5 minutes, and then every other cutscene is like maybe 30 seconds to a couple minutes, which is a shame because I love the characters. Like I thought they were entertaining.
Yeah, lots of good quote unquote downtime dialogue too when you're kind of traveling from one area to the other in a mission.
Yeah, in between missions, you're at a hangar,
I'm just talking
and
about in a mission.
oh yeah, in a mission, yeah, on your way to like the waypoints, there's like good
Yeah.
back and forth between some of the characters, and in between missions, you have like this hub area that you go to. The hub area changes based on like where you are in the story, where you can go up to different characters and it'll give you side objectives, and then you can also just learn about their past and get a little bit of world building. That stuff is like my favorite part of the game, are the little interactions during the mission and the interactions in between missions.
That social
Because
space feels kind of clunky though.
the social space feels aged, just
Yeah.
because it's so empty and barren. And I feel like that's kind of a theme with this game, which is lack of depth, and that's just kind of present everywhere. So the gameplay is this grab cycle RTS stuff where you can kind of do the missions by yourself without really using your squad too much. But you do have control of the squad, but the stuff that they have for the squad to do is limited, and it's lacking a certain amount of depth, which is a bummer.
I think it's
Because
missing. I think it's missing a form of an upgrade system.
yeah, an actual upgrade system, because you can like level up the individual characters, but it's really like increasing their health or cooldown. But
Hmm.
there's no expansion beyond that.
It still does
Uh,
the same thing in the first mission. Does the same thing in the final mission.
Yeah, there just isn't a progression through it that makes it worth continuing unless you really like the story and characters. The gameplay doesn't evolve over time like it should.
Yeah, and I also didn't feel like, and I'm not obviously I'm not as far as you are. I didn't feel like a lot of times like the games and combat levels kind of like progress upward as it's challenging a little bit more as you learn things, and I feel like this combat was very linear.
It is very linear, and their only way they like try and challenge that linearity is just throwing more enemies at you. Like just like, oh, we're just gonna throw here's flying enemies along with the ground enemies, and that's as deep as it gets, which is a shame. Uh, you can't really switch out the characters you're given on a mission. You're just given certain characters, which is a shame. I really wish you could swap them out. Maybe you could do that on the higher difficulties, but you just can't do that on the regular difficulty, which is a shame. Uh, just little stuff. You can't stack commands on your crew. Like I can't say kill this guy, kill this guy, kill this guy. Why I do that, or do that objective, that objective, that objective. Once you change objectives, your whole squad will then just go with you, as opposed to being able to trust them to do multiple things and knock out multiple tasks at once or after each other,
Hmm.
which is just kind of annoying, because there's some times where it's just like I cleared out the enemies, there's no danger, but we need to do 3 objectives and I can't just stack them. That's some Sims 1 shit where you just can't
Yeah.
stack objectives, which is kind of annoying and frustrating,
It,
especially as they throw more at you.
yeah, it feels like a really interesting concept that's lacking some serious polish.
Yeah, polish and just like again, it comes down to depth for me. This feels like a good technical demo or a good first step. Like I think they built enough in this universe that I'm interested and intrigued, and I like the combo of a first person shooter and an
Hmm.
RTS,
Hmm.
but they didn't build enough into it in this first
Yeah,
game.
there's no badass moments in it like where you feel like that you're just wrecking shop.
Yeah, like there's destructibility, but it's not full destructibility. Uh, there's there's no big wow moments in this game.
They played it
Uh,
very safe, kept things very close. So
yeah, and it's fun. I enjoyed the story. It just there wasn't a lot going for it. And every time I played it and when I wrapped it up, I'm like, okay, I had fun with this game. It just didn't have enough there for me. I want to see what they can do with this universe and these elements because I love the character design. I think the characters look super cool.
hmm.
The writing is good. So I want to see what they could do with a Disintegration 2, uh, and hope they can add that depth. Like maybe they were just testing the waters with this, or maybe this is as far as they can go. If this is as far as they can go, then maybe there's no room for a sequel. But I see things they could do to like up this, and hopefully they get that chance to do it. Uh, I dived into the multiplayer, but unfortunately, there's just no one playing the multiplayer or their servers are broken. I got into maybe 1 or 2 games, and I didn't even finish the games because people just like bailed. Before we recorded, I in the background just had my PS4 running, and then I would just queue random matchmaking, and it would time out every 10 minutes and then kick me out of queuing. So then I'd have to requeue every 10 minutes, and I just couldn't find a game.
That
I did a
sucks.
Twitter search, and no one's playing it. This is an issue on PC. This is an issue on Xbox. Uh, like this game probably could use some sort of crossplay support just to help the few people that are trying to play it online get together because it doesn't seem like there's enough per platform to do it, which is a shame because I think the gameplay is pretty fun, even though it lacks depth. That like in a multiplayer setting, it could be interesting. Like there's really not that much progression in the multiplayer either. You're just kind of unlocking cosmetics. There's nothing else really there to unlock, so there's no carrot on a stick scenario for the multiplayer. Uh, so like I enjoyed this game. I played the campaign. It probably lasted like 6 to 8 hours for me. I really enjoyed it. I recommend checking out the campaign. Uh, for what it is, it's still fun. It just don't expect going into it with expecting too much for it. Don't expect like this epic encounter these epic battles. It's just kind of a fun game to play for 6 hours, but it's not gonna blow your mind. Because I'm sure if like it had those epic moments, Dave, you probably would have had the urge to continue on, but instead it was you probably walked away with what it like. This is fine.
Yeah, like mission complete. Oh, you didn't kill enough of these things this way. Oh, okay.
Yeah, like I didn't feel like I needed to go out of my way to get all the side goals.
Right.
I got
Because there's not really a reward for doing it.
Yeah, there's not a reward for doing it, and then there's like little hidden things for you to upgrade your characters. But halfway through the game, I realized like my teammates aren't really dying, so I don't really give a shit about upgrading them. So I put all the upgrade points into myself, so my character would have the best chance for survivability. But there just wasn't enough there for me to do all find all the hidden chips and upgrade your crew and yourself. With that said, I still enjoyed it. I did find it to be fun, which is why I'm just going to give it a 3 out of 5. I think it's a good first step. If they can do enough to add to it, maybe it could be a really, really good franchise. But even though I sound really down on it, I enjoy it enough to give it a 3. Because I think the campaign's worth it. This is definitely one of those games that maybe when it's on sale, it'd be worth checking out. I think right now it's like a $50 game, which it just probably isn't. Like, I wouldn't recommend it right now, especially the multiplayer components lacking. My reviews basically of this as being a single player only game based on how the multiplayer is going. And I think the single player at best with its mechanics is a 3 out of 5.
Yeah. All right. All right, we're going to jump into questions and comments. You can send us questions using hashtag AskDigitalDays on Twitter. You can post them in the Facebook group. You can post them on our Facebook page. You can post them in Discord. All of those links are in the show notes, so please check them out and join some of the community in the conversations with whatever platform that you choose to use. So our first one comes from Andrew. What are your thoughts on hearing about service improvements for PSN, i.e. new tiers to, maybe something to combat with Games Pass? I'm all for choices when it comes to some of this stuff. Like, I think that more choices is better, but at the same time, it's just confusing how to sell it.
Yeah, I feel like we've been waiting for years for PS Plus to up their game to match some of the stuff Microsoft's doing, especially now that, Game Pass is a thing. I just don't know if Sony cares. Like, it seems like they have no interest in, like, pushing PS Now to be something. And that's really all they kind of have. Like, if you look at, like, Ultimate Game Pass, it's you get Xbox Live, you get Game Pass, I think on PC and Xbox One.
Yeah, if it's Ultimate,
so
you do, yeah.
Yeah, so they have all that to put on that. All Sony really has, their video service failed, their music service failed. All they really have is PS Plus and PS Now, and I don't know if that's enough for them to like combine and make it a Game Pass competitor. I do know PS Now is on PC, but I don't know how popular that is, to be completely honest. I want them to do something, especially after they like went from 6 games to 2 games.
Yeah.
If anything, they've gone down.
But I think it's confusing. Like, how do you buy it? Like, if there's like 3 different versions of PS Plus, like in terms of like which one do you buy? What happens if you buy the wrong one accidentally? What happens after 3 months if you want to upgrade to the higher one? Like, there's just like there's so many questions involved in it. It does need some improvements. It does need a nice like an overhaul of like what they're gonna do, like how like they need to speak on it soon. Like, how is Plus gonna impact PS5? Like, is it just gonna play for am I just paying for multiplayer? Like, am I getting PS5 games? Like, what would that look like at launch?
Yeah, is it going to be 4 or PlayStation people going to be entitled to 4 games, 2 PS4, 2 PS5, backwards compatibility, where those PS4 games guarantee to work with my PS5 if I have Plus?
Or are they just going to double down on PS4 games working on PS5, and all the Plus games we're going to get are ones ones that do work on PS5.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like I would almost feel like it would have to at that point. They can't give away super old PS4 games because then they won't work on PS5. There's a lot of things that they could do, and there's a lot of answers that they have. I'm hoping they have like another state of play in August and go on some sort of whatever the version of a media tour is in 2020.
Or
they need to start that rolling. And I need pre-orders to go up.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Like a Q&A live stream with somebody, like even if it's Keeley at this point in time, like near the end of Summer Game Fest, like just, Jim Ryan sits down with Keeley and he just goes through the bullets, like goes through, for an hour and just talks about the stuff that people are wondering,
Yeah.
So, our next question comes from Matt Lowe. Injustice Gods Among Us Ultimate Edition is currently free on the PlayStation Store. Not on PS Plus, just free at the moment. So everybody should go download that. Which got him thinking. I used to play beat-em-ups a lot before getting into more online multiplayer games. Why don't beat-em-ups have party lobbies where friends can group up, play 1v1, and spectate the current match? Or does that exist in a game? Let me know. So I did a quick Google search and I really couldn't find anything, but I believe that Injustice has a King of the Hill mode.
Yeah, so I got confused with this question because he said beat 'em ups. To me, beat 'em ups are side scrollers.
These beat 'em ups are fighting games for him. So
no, I'm pretty sure a decent amount of fighting games do have some sort of lobby system where you can just go at it. I believe Street Fighter, I'm pretty sure it's 5, has something like that. I know one of the Marvel versus Capcom games definitely has that.
I'm not 100% sure about spectator mode because I think that like when you're doing
MK does.
Yeah, when you're doing King of the Hill and Injustice, I think you're doing something else while you're waiting for your fight. I'm not 100% for sure.
I believe one of the MK games definitely has it. And then I looked in beat 'em ups. There are some beat 'em ups just because I had to look at the beat 'em ups genre when I first saw this, and I'm like, I think some of the like Capcom beat 'em up bundle has a lobby thing where you can just turn your game on and random people can jump in and help you out.
Yeah, I think he's looking for like 8 people in a party chat, all in the same lobby, all talking crap to each other and watching each other fight.
Some games definitely have that option.
I think Injustice does.
Yeah. If it isn't Injustice 2 that has it, it's definitely one of the Mortal Kombat games that brought that in. It's hard to tell with those without loading those games up just to confirm it. So yeah, that system is definitely out there for a few fighters. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, though. So.
Yeah. And our last question of the night comes from Justin. What is the appropriate amount of time to wait before discussing spoilers of games or movies?
2 weeks, Dave? We're doing 2 weeks, right? for The Last of Us?
I think that's just, you got to know your audience and just, always tread water. Like always, I think just be respectful. Ask somebody if they've seen something or if they care. Like that seems to happen a lot in our party chats, like my PSN party chats with stuff like, are you going to play this game? No. Or if you haven't played it yet and it's been out for like X amount of years, even if I do play it, I don't really care. But I think just tread lightly and be careful.
Yeah, I think it's kind of comes down to just ask people, like, hey, do you want to talk about this? Or, just don't openly talk about stuff because there's definitely, I've noticed on other people's Twitter posts and Facebook posts with The Last of Us where people were like, I'm enjoying it, and then people are putting cutscenes from the game ending in their replies. Like in your group of friends you can determine those boundaries, but now in the social media age it seems like it's the Wild West in terms of like when you can talk about a game. So just my philosophy of don't be a dick kind of just applies to like the spoiler territory of just like, it's okay to talk about a game or movie whenever, but just don't be a dick about it,
Mm-hmm.
Like me and Dave earlier, I could have just totally not talked around things with Dave earlier, but I didn't want to be a dick.
Yeah. He asked where Dave I was and I told him where I was, and then he based his conversation on where I had been.
Yeah, I may have foreshadowed a little bit, but I don't think I've said anything that's like, this is definitely happening. So, yeah, just if you want to talk about the game with someone, just ask them how far they are in the game. If they say they finished it, then you're probably free to engage in a private conversation about all the spoilers. If they're 10 hours in a game, try and base your discussion on that 10 hours. But yeah, it's the Wild West out there. Just don't be a dick.
All right. That is it for our questions. Again, remember you can send those anytime you want using hashtag AskDigitalDays. You don't have to wait for us to post that we're looking for questions. So please feel free if something pops up while you're thinking about, while you're listening to the show and you want to ask the question, just go ahead and do it. For the most part, if you see us favorite it, then you know that we've seen it, whether it's Michael or myself on Twitter. And same thing on Facebook. Usually Michael or myself will like it so that you know that we've seen it. And if we haven't done that, then just, maybe ask it again.
Yeah.
But spotlights. So my spotlight, again, is just our bonus content. Like the EA Live, the EA Play Live is up. If you haven't checked those out, we purposely, if you look on your feed, your podcast feed, we're purposely trying to make it obvious that it's not a regular numbered episode. It's not called DDG. It's not, it has a different cover artwork to it. Like the EA Play one has an EA one, the Destiny one has a Destiny one, the PS5 one has a PS5, and then any regular numbered episode is numbered, and it has our standard DDG logo. So that's just the where we're at. And again, please, any feedback from that is always appreciated. Was it too much? Was it not enough? Did we talk too long? Did we bore you? Do you not want us to sit there and break trailers down? Let us know. The numbers were good from it, so we're happy with where we're at. PS5 was doing very, very good for us. And then EA's EA. So it's but the amount of possible new people that we've gotten from this has been fantastic, and I would love to see more of it. And we have plans of, depending on the events this week, Michael will do something. Ubisoft is on the radar. The Last of Us is on the radar. There's plenty of things that are on the radar for us. So
yeah. And then for my spotlight, on our YouTube channel, you just have to do a search for it because we don't have a fancy URL for it.
Not until we get 100 subscribers. So 41 of y'all need to get on it.
Help us out. Yeah. I posted with the help of Angela, who graciously edited my video review, but I put a video review for Beyond Blue. It's a little different. Previously, when we have a review on our YouTube channel, it's just the live audio from the podcast. This one, I decided to just record something, so it's only 2 minutes and some change long, just because I felt for a game like Beyond Blue, it just would be better to just be more concise and just post a straightforward video for it. So please check that out. Give us some feedback. We already have some ideas on how we can improve on it in the future. And let us know if this is something you'd be interested to do. Dave would be interested in potentially pursuing this for some games he's playing, and I would definitely be interested in doing that. Or if you just prefer us to just take the audio straight from the podcast, we could do that as well. This week, we might just put the Disintegration conversation up on YouTube as a review, just because there's a little bit more back and forth with that one, and just to see which one you prefer, because it's been a while since we had a discussion review on our YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. So check that out. Let us know what you think, and then hopefully we'll have a Disintegration one up sometime end of the week, maybe next week, and we can get your full thoughts on which one you prefer. Just because we're making this content for you, so please give us input on what you want to see from us. Take it away, Dave.
Yep. All right. And you can send that feedback through YouTube comments or email at podcast@digitaldaysgaming.com, where you can also send your Ask DDG or your Ask Digital Days questions. You can also send them on Twitter at Digital Days Pod. You can send them to Michael at the first MJC 1ST, or you can send them to myself at Good Dave Hunt on Twitter. Join the Facebook group. Link is in the show notes. Join the Discord channel. Link is in the show notes. And obviously our Patreon tiers. So our $1 tip jar, just hey, here's a buck. That essentially pays for 1 month of Simplecast podcast hosting. If you guys join that. Our $3 Discord access. For $3 you get access to a private Discord channel. If you're also a Twitch sub and you link your Twitch and your Discord together, you'll have access to that channel as well. Because monetarily it's about the same. $5 tier is for 24-hour early access to the regular weekly show. Any of our bonus episodes, as you guys can see already, we release them on Patreon just because some of you use Patreon as your primary source. and some of you don't. So, but any of the bonus content will be released day and date on Patreon and on the public feed. And then the podcast itself, the weekly show, the numbered episodes are released 24 hours early for Patreon supporters. So you guys get them on Wednesday mornings at 6 a.m. compared to everyone else that gets them at Thursday morning at 6 a.m. And then $7 is our monthly bonus episode. That we have released 2 of them so far, and our supporters are awesome for being there to do that. Because again, like Michael mentioned, that we make the content for you. So this is content that you guys are paying for. So therefore, you guys also have a huge factor in what the episode can be focused around. We've done a couple of things for ourselves, like the retail stories and our E3 memories. And July's will be coming out. I didn't realize how late it was in June, so we'll have to record that this week. It'll be coming out pretty early in July, maybe a little bit after the 4th of July, just because that week might be a little nuts. But within the first week of July, the July bonus episode will be out. And I think the theme is either, right now, it's kind of between food stories or origin stories for us getting into content creation / games journalism. But if you guys have a really good idea for what you'd like to see, then please feel free to send it and maybe change July's topic. It's definitely user driven. So let us know. And if you sign up for that $7 tier, you get access to all the prior episodes as well. So.
Yeah. And as that tier grows, we might produce more episodes for that tier as we see growth with it. So definitely, if you like seeing that stuff, by joining, you might end up being able to get us to record a second episode a month.
Yeah, but your guys' support has been amazing, whether it's Twitch or Patreon. Financially, like just seeing money come into our account is a huge help, and it definitely helps drive us. We're going to be making an upgrade for Michael as soon as it's available, because of your guys' ability to support us on Twitch and Patreon. So we are going to be getting Michael a new microphone. There's nothing wrong with his Blue Yeti, but the new Elgato microphone just has some really good integration that'll work really well for streaming and for podcasting. So
yeah, and it'll be interesting to review it. So anyone that wants to get into streaming, this could be a good microphone to get.
Yeah, as an all-in-one kind of thing. So all right, that is episode 35. So again, please send us any feedback, leave us a review, share the show, help us grow, get more eyes on the show, and keep moving forward. Wash your hands. And as Michael always says,
don't be a dick. See ya. All right, stop in Audacity.